Welcome, everyone. I'm Joe GIllard. I'm the editor of ISE Magazine. Today, I'm lucky to be here with Melissa Newman. She's SVP of the Telecommunications Industry Association. Melissa has over 20 years of experience in telecom with expertise in government, public relations, and legal. Is that right, Melissa? Great. Well, thank you so much for being here. I am going to talk to Melissa just a little bit about tariffs and about the BEAD program. And this was prompted initially by a letter that David Stalen, who's the CEO of the Telecommunications Industry Association, wrote to Howard Lutnick, the nominee for the Department of Commerce. So, Melissa, David wrote the letter, and he mentioned that he believes telecom-related tariffs will increase prices, consumer prices, limit the positive impact of NTIA's broadband investments. So could you walk me through a little bit how tariffs on U.S. trading partners will raise prices and how it could limit the impacts of the BEAD program?
Sure. So first of all, let me just say it is an honor to be here today. Thank you. Really appreciate this opportunity and would like to talk about these issues. I can simplify this with tariffs by saying tariffs are basically a tax on imported products, and they are paid for by the company that imports the products. And in a competitive marketplace, you would expect that companies would pass those increased costs to consumers. So that's how we think prices could go up for those imports. Now, you can assemble a product here in the United States in the telecom space, but many of the inputs into that router, or the plastics used, are not produced in the United States. They are produced overseas. We do not have a choice but to get them overseas. And if you put a tariff on those imports, even though we're putting the whole thing together in the United States, if there is a tariff, or I'm going to use the word tax on those imports, that means you're paying more for them than you would otherwise. And the impact with BEAD is, look, there is a $42 billion BEAD program. It is the most money we have ever gotten for broadband. We take that program seriously. We're proud of it. But if you're paying more for your inputs, that's less money. I mean, it's a $42 billion program. So that's it. That's a significant amount of money. Yeah. But any additional costs take away from, or could potentially take away from, deployment, because you're paying again for that tariff or that tax.
Well said. Thank you. Thank you for that kind of explanation and context and lay of the land as to what's going on. I also want to talk about if there's anything that the TIA would recommend the Department of Commerce could do now to step in and kind of mitigate the potential impact.
So look, we want to work with the Department of Commerce, and I believe there will be reports and studies on tariffs and their impacts, and I think that's a great idea. We're very supportive of that, and we think that is the right way for the Department of Commerce to go. We'd like to talk to them, and I'm sure we will get that opportunity, about the information communications technology sector, and inform them of what is and can be made here. We certainly, through the Buy America provisions of the Infrastructure Act that was adopted under the Biden administration, moved more manufacturing here. So we are doing more here, and that is great news, and we're really proud of that. But there still are some components, inputs to the product, that can only be made. We don't make them here overseas. So we'd like to have that conversation. And like I said, I think we will, with the Department of Commerce, so they understand the realities of the supply chain in the ICT sector.
Right, exactly. Right. Yeah. The Build America, Buy America Act doesn't necessarily mean, right, like you said, that some of these smaller, very smaller micro or computing components or electrical components can't necessarily be or need to be exempt from that in some way. And so speaking of BEAD, I also wanted to ask you about BEAD and kind of David's recommendation about streamlining. So what
Yeah.
can be streamlined? Is that a good idea?
Look, there are some requirements in the BEAD program that NTIA put forth that are not exactly in the statute. Or NTIA may have implemented them to make it more onerous. So I'll give you an example. The labor union practices. Each state has its own labor union practices. And yet the BEAD NOFO talks about some unifying in those practices. We don't think that's necessary. We trust that the states have the practices for their labor laws that are appropriate for their state. And so any additional stuff put on that isn't going to help advance getting broadband out there faster. That is an overarching issue that we think NTIA should look at. There are other requirements like climate resiliency and stuff that seem to go beyond the statute. There is a requirement in the statute for a low-cost broadband option, but we believe that the way NTIA has implemented that leads to rate regulation, and there is absolutely no requirement for rate regulation. So we want them to look at that to make sure that you're following the contours of the statutory requirement. But there's a lot about the program that is good. We do not want to delay, much further. We want this to get boots on the ground and get things built and deployed. One thing we do feel very strongly about is workforce development programs is part of deployment. If you don't have the workforce ready to go and trained, you don't have deployment. And we do have a shortage in the workforce for a variety of reasons. And so we do still want to work with NTIA and the Department of Commerce on this issue. So there are some things that could be changed or slightly modified. But in general, the program is good. And we can't wait for the first digs in the ground.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys are very, very busy right now. I just want to say thank you for explaining and elaborating some of those things for the viewers here and for the readers. I'm going to leave it there because you covered exactly what I was hoping you would cover. And I want to say thank you. I know you're busy, and I will let you go. But I'd like to give you the opportunity to say anything else that you want people to know, or if they can get in contact with the TIA or with you or something.
Oh, first of all, absolutely. First, let me tell you a little bit about TIA, just in one or two sentences. TIA advocates for and represents the trusted manufacturers of communications equipment. And we have a unique voice in that area to talk about issues that impact the manufacturing sector of ICT equipment. We've been doing this for 90 years. We are also a standards development organization as well. We have technical expertise. So we have a combination of both public policy advocacy, technical expertise. We do it at both the domestic and international levels. To get in touch with me, you can go on our website and I will get anything that you send through our contact there. And happy to talk to you about that. And I really do appreciate the opportunity to talk to you. Thank you.
Excellent. Good luck to you and to everybody at TIA. And I look forward to hopefully speaking with you again in the future.
Thank you. Me too.